Okay, straight to the French League, right? I don't really do much reports or commentating or analysis on the French League because the French League is not really as exciting as you would want it to be because of the fact that it's always dominated by one team, right? Which is obviously Paris Saint-Germain. It's not really as competitive as the Barclays Premier League or the Serie A, as well as perhaps maybe La Liga to an extent, but it's always pretty one-sided for so many years, and it pretty loses like its essence, its credibility, because of the fact that it lacks so much of that competitive edge, because a lot of these teams are not really up in their game in terms of wanting to actually compete, right? But maybe for a first time, I'll talk about the game that took place between Paris Saint-Germain as well as Lille, because one of my contacts from France, just decided to say, you know what, just do an analysis on that one, watch the game, watch the encounter, and, make a take. And based on what I saw in that particular encounter, and it was a pretty much one-sided game, right? Despite the fact that, Paris Saint-Germain as well as Lille, they have an incredible history, both these sides. The fact that, 3 goals were scored in the space of, in the opening 20 minutes of the game said a lot. It was actually so interesting about that. And for the fact that Paris Saint-Germain came from behind to actually beat Lille and actually move 11 points clear at the top of league, says a lot, But again, it was really one-sided from that point onwards after they got the second goal, because the away side did not really show much, fight, to actually get back into the game, right? Because what actually happened was the fact that, yes, we saw Gonzalo Ramos, he swept home 4 minutes after Yusuf Yaziki's 6-minute opener at the Parc des Princes. And then the little defender, Alexandro, tucked into his own net before Randall Kolo Muani tapped in from close range, to actually secure all 3 points for the Parisians at the Parc des Princes, ahead of their much encountered, much anticipated Champions League encounter in midweek, right? We saw their talisman as well. Kylian Mbappe did not feature for PSG because, Luis Enrique was resting the striker, before they actually take on Real Sociedad, in the Champions League last 16 on Wednesday night. And for the fact that, the France international picked up an ankle injury in the French Cup, win over Brest in midweek, but he was actually fit enough to actually be named on the bench. We saw Marco Asensio as well as Nodi Mukiele, both went close late on, but the goalkeeper of Lille, Lucas Chevalier, produced some brilliant saves. And now the 11-time French champions, Paris Saint-Germain, they now sit comfortably above Nice, in second place, while Lille are basically in fourth, competing for a Champions League spot ahead of Monaco just on the goal difference. So, like I said, there was not really much from the game because it was pretty much, basically one-sided, to say the least, despite the fact that, it was balanced, in some parts of the game. There was there was some balance, between both sides, because we saw even in the ball possession, there was kind of some balance. We saw, the away side Lille having more of the ball, and they obviously from most parts of the game, we saw Paris Saint-Germain having more of the ball, and the fact that, Paris Saint-Germain had more goal shots, they had more opportunities at goal, but give credit to the goalkeeper of Lille, he's the one who managed to keep the away side, in the game, although it was just there was not much to drive home from this encounter. And now PSG, they face off against Real Sociedad in the Champions League round of 16 first leg, and it's actually going to be an interesting encounter because of the fact that Real Sociedad, it is their first appearance in the knockout stages of the Champions League in pretty much many years, right? And we are all looking forward to that one. So, and Mbappe will be there, so it's actually going to be an interesting one, to say the least.